So this week on the Any Given Runday podcast, we have personal trainer, running coach, hiker, marathon runner, and the co-founder of the Coffee Running Naas, Killian Andersen. Welcome to this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. How are you getting on?
Not too bad, Sean. Thanks for having me on.
So,
I
Killian,
did,
no, I need to know.
there
I
we
don't
go.
drink I don't drink coffee. Does that mean I can't run with you?
You can come and get a tea if you want, but you will
No,
be
I don't
shunned. You'll
drink
be put in the
I don't
corner.
I don't drink tea or coffee. I people are gonna think I'm weird. People will actually probably stop listening to it, but actually I'll take it back. I do drink tea and coffee. Don't judge me. Keep listening to the
We're not
podcast.
going to judge it, but we will just leave you in a group. We have a special table for you guys over the other side of the cafe when we go in.
Well, I hope it has crayons for Sean. Keep him entertained.
If your coffee comes with marshmallow and chocolate, that's what Eric drinks. That's about it. The only hot drinks he has.
Sean, I'm not here to judge either yet.
So now let's get on to the personal training side of things. Now that you have a chocoholic here on one end, Killian, you have quite an impressive little intro. Sean didn't mess it up this time. Where did it all start for you? How did you get interested in sport?
In sport, I was always like, when I was a young lad, I was always playing football, not GA now, soccer. I was never got into GA, unfortunately. But it was soccer throughout my early years. Once I hit 16-ish, it was straight in the gym. And literally from 16 to about, yeah, where I am now, 27, I was in the gym pretty much the entire time, bar like a stint of a couple of years in the middle of it. But yeah, gym, then transitioned into hiking. From hiking went to running, and then gym went into personal training. So that's kind of the progression of how I worked to where I am.
You went up the ranks pretty fast in terms of gym into marathon running at 27. I know at 27 or so. Well, roughly you're a year or two younger, Eric, getting into marathon running and stuff like that. What made you go from such gym and putting on muscle and gains and all the rest to hear about marathon runner losing weight, losing muscle, going for long runs? Was it always because the hiking or what happened there?
To be honest with you, it was purely ego. So a few of the lads were going out. They booked a 10K race, and we all lived down in Wexford. They booked the Wexford town 10K. And I was like, no, I'm still like, I don't care for running. I don't like running. I'm going to stick with the gym. So I didn't book it. They came back buzzing, medals on, all this sort of shite, chatting away like, oh, that was great crack. That was great crack.
Everyone
Like,
loves a
oh,
medal
why
in a
didn't you do it?
t-shirt, huh?
Oh man, the medal and the t-shirt is what got me into it. That's what started it all. But then they were like, "Oh, you only did it because you know that you wouldn't be fast enough." Blah blah blah. So I was like, "All right, fuck you. I'm going out. I'm going to run a faster 10K than three is." Went out, got the 10K done faster, but with fucking 12 blisters up my foot because I was wearing wrong shoes, wrong gear, wrong everything. And that's kind of where the passion for it started. I was like, you don't get an ego boost like that in the gym. Like it's all good lifting heavy things, but like there's not really like people don't care if you can lift 120 kilos on the bar. Like they're like, if you can run really far and really fast, people look at that. People notice that.
I'm
So
noticing pattern to my own training here, so I gotta ask straight away. Geneva, marathon number one. Me and Eric have horror stories we've told plenty of times to the podcast. Did yours go well, or did you carry that kind of, I did a 10K, let's just hit the marathon and I'm great? What was the attitude going into that one?
oh okay, first marathon again, pure ego. It took me a lot of learning to actually get to be able to do this sustainably. Like first marathon, we went over to Nice, did a 20K race there, a massive group of us, about 15 of us. And when I finished that, I was like, absolutely not, never doing a marathon, never running again. Within 5 days, I was back out running because all of a sudden a 5K was nothing. I was like, I can do this in my sleep now. So then there was a little bit of getting hooked to that. And one of the lads just kept ringing me. He's like, I booked the half marathon in Geneva. Will you please come over and do it with me? And I was like, no, I'm not arsed. I'm not doing this again. Not again. And then he rang me one last time. He was like, I'm going to ask you one last time. Will you please do it? And for some reason, my logical brain was like, is there a marathon there? He was like, yep. I was like, go on. I'll book the marathon. So it was purely impulse. I think I booked the marathon with 10 weeks to train, 10 weeks, in around 10 to 12 weeks to train. No knowledge of how to train for a marathon, no knowledge of what it actually entailed. I was just like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to see what happens, going to push myself for it. And in the 3 months, yeah, 2, 3 months beforehand, my, I think it was my groin at the time blew up. So I didn't really run. And my entire training block added up to about 60, 70 kilometers in the 3 months before Geneva. and that was the first marathon, so it was not pretty.
Unfortunately, I can still relate. That's
Unfortunately,
fucking hard.
you're probably still better than us too, Shams.
God.
So if I can touch on the personal or on the gym side of things, and a lot of people, I suppose, cardio is the enemy to muscle gains. This the element of both are individual sports, and obviously both have
Yeah,
two very different goals and outlooks. One is a very physical looking, one is most marathon and endurance athletes don't look, I speak for myself, don't look like I can run a marathon, but I can run a marathon probably tomorrow or the next day and I'll slog through and stuff. It's quite
yeah.
different in terms of what you are. How hard is it to transition from that? I know Sean does it in his coaching and stuff, so he's a little bit more used to being more open-minded, and you probably are now. But in that phase, I know it was ego, but what was going through your head to transition from that physique lift to running?
It was more so a personal challenge. Like, obviously, there was the ego side of it, but I actually did love getting out and moving my body and being able to breathe. And the progression that I found within running was different to the progression that I could find within the gym. It was a new style of training that I wanted to get on top of, I wanted to get better at. Like, and from that, combining, like, oh, where was I going with that? I found that they could benefit each other, and I still do the two of them at the same time. Like for the first marathon, I was still heavily strength training. I was probably upping my weights week on week. I was still pushing heavy weight. And even from that marathon, I haven't lost any weight. I'm still sitting at 90 kilos running like all the marathons. And I don't plan on losing weight to it. But I think it just means you have to train in a little bit of different manner. Because I have that excess weight, my knees will take a lot of impact. My ankles take a lot of impact. My hips take a lot of impact. So it's about training those areas to withstand that impact. And I also can't, I feel because of my weight, I can't do the massive 90K weeks in the training for the marathons. So I don't do the bike work yet myself, but a lot of people hop up on the bike who are my weight and do that for as a replacement to some of their long runs. I just do a lot of strength training where I can, a good bit of mobility work, and kind of incorporate that side of it into it.
So for me, I get quite lazy in terms of my gym work. As from listening to the podcast, I spent a lot of time in the beginning of this year on strength work because of these very reasons, and I really wanted
Yeah,
to just enjoy my training. Because the last many years, it's always been sign up to something, do something, sign up to another, hardly train for it, do it, and the
yeah,
cycle has just been going. And this is an aim for Barcelona next year. But now that I've transitioned back into more longer running, I'm finding I'm just not arsed going to the gym to lift weights because I'm already
mm.
dedicating my time to the run and I'm dedicating. So, how do you balance a week of lifting, strength and conditioning plus running?
I've dropped the time I spend in the gym. So instead of going in and spending an hour strength training, working through, say, compound movement, another compound movement, the standard like 4 sets of 10, 4 sets of 12, working through that way, I've dropped my sessions to 30-minute sessions. If I can get in one compound movement and then three isolation exercises within that 30 minutes, I feel accomplished in that. I'm maintaining my strength. Now, granted, probably in the last 3 months, I've dropped that little bit of strength, but managed to maintain my muscle mass. Like I'm sitting at a very comfortable balance for my body type, I find at the minute. And that's how I found the balance because I wasn't able to go in and strength train for an hour. Like it was getting doing 5 hours of strength training a week on top of 5 or 6 hours of running. And I tried to dabble in triathlon at like some stage throughout the year. That was just way too much all at once.
And that's one thing I found, the strength training, although it's really important. When you're training 2 a days, one swim, one cycle, one run, one swim,
Mm.
you don't leave a lot. Like I find even, I suppose the strength training to me with running is kind of like ab workouts for strength trainers. Once you get to
Yeah.
let's do a core session to finish, it's like, oh, fuck off, I'm done. And that's what it's kind of like when you have that filled week. And I suppose is there other ways that people can add in? You talk about 30 minutes. Is there other ways that you have added in, I suppose, little nuggets in? If I'm sitting at my desk, can I do 5 minutes of this? Can I do 5 minutes of that? Is that something that works? Is it something you've tried?
It's not something I do personally, but it's something I've found works with a lot of my clients because some people they either don't have access to a gym, they don't feel like they have enough time to go to the gym. So you want to be able to give them some form of exercise. So I often say to my clients, like, if you really, really can't get to the gym, get a set of resistance bands. They're a fiver in your local sports shop. Do some resistance band work. 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at lunch, 10 minutes in the evening. If that's what you can spare, that's what you can spare. If you can grab a couple of kettlebells, even better. But like the resistance band is the start. And you can get some serious work done with resistance bands. If you pull like the heavy enough ones, you get up to the black bands, like you're struggling to push against that. Get a few crab walks in, your hip flexors, your glute medius, they'll be on fire.
Absolutely couldn't agree with that anymore. It's only doing it during the week. I'm like, yeah, no, don't like doing these again. Building up to my own marathon training. When you're in the gym, then so did you say you do 2-3 days a week? Do you do full body, or do you do upper lower split, or do you go in and go, I'm after doing a long run, or I did a heavy interval session, I'm not feeling this, I'm gonna do hop on the bench and do bicep curls. That's my training. What do you do?
I haven't got any bigger, little girl.
It's the video. The
Still
video takes away a couple of kilos of muscle, Eric.
Yeah,
I
it
thought
added it
the
on to
video
me
adds 10
anyway.
kilos.
All right, lads, just team up on me. That's fair enough. Back to your questions.
I know, but it is. I do have to do a lot of intuitive training where I listen to my body and I decide what it's best for on the day. Like I always have that rough plan of like what I'm going to do throughout the week, when I'm going to do it. Frequently, I'm not even going to say sometimes it doesn't go to plan. Frequently, it does not go to plan, and you have to make alterations. You have to make adjustments based on what part of your body is fatigued, what isn't fatigued, what you can work. But my standard split is I'll do an upper body day, a full body day, and leg work. And then I'll throw in like little bits of mobility throughout the week where I can. Like I have my own sets of resistance bands at home. I'll do a little bit of resistance band work in the morning, a little bit in the evening, not every day, but just as I feel fit that I need to do it.
You've an interesting passport for marathon runs. At the moment, most of mine have just been in Dublin, Galway,
Galway.
and Dublin. Yeah, that's been pretty
Yeah.
much it.
No,
You're
Kildare. You did the thoroughbred one. I give you credit.
Turbid, yeah, but that was
I'll give you
yeah,
credit.
That's a
that was
nice
actually
one.
close. Yeah, it's a lot hillier than they told me it was gonna be. I could talk about that for a good while, but I'd rather talk about Amsterdam. Amsterdam was your second marathon, right?
Sam was the second one, yeah.
Just forget about Dublin. Just straight on a plane. Any reason at all to go run in a different country. It's a great way to view different cities. I'm sure you'll
It's
agree.
that's the way I've been doing it, yeah. We've been kind of jetting off here, there, and everywhere. Amsterdam was just another like level of it. We were looking for a flat marathon, and I don't think we could have found a better one than Amsterdam for that.
Oh
Now,
wow.
in my head, I was like, oh, great, it's going to be flat. I'm going to see the city. I'm going to see this. I'm going to see that. We run through the Rijksmuseum. We start in the stadium. I blacked out for the entire thing. I had no idea where I was, what I was looking at. I was just head down on the road, focusing on moving, enjoying the movement, and like was in bits after it, but enjoyed every minute of it.
But that is true. Like even the likes of the Cork Marathon, there's only two places I can kind of remember, and that's one running through the tunnel, and two was around the stadium. After that, you could put me on one of them streets and go, "Do you remember this?" I'd be like, "No, never seen this before in my life." I must have been staring at someone's shoes at this point. I have not got a clue about any of this. But I suppose the thing about destination marathons and the reason we're going to Barcelona is it's the before and after. Maybe not so much the
Absolutely.
before, but the after is where you get to take in the city and maybe pick a bar or a nice restaurant and stay on for the day or two. And it is a good way of doing it. And a lot of these European marathons, tickets are available.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to get tickets for a marathon abroad than it is for Dublin. Dublin is next to impossible. Now, I haven't tried it before this year, and I was lucky enough to get one in the transfer market this year, but I've just heard people like fighting for tickets and never getting them.
Why is that?
It's the way they resell to people who have already ran the marathon straight after. So people have that buzz, they impulse buy, and then all of a sudden the bulk of tickets are sold, like bought up. So those transfer
Yeah.
markets are essential because then people are like, oh, wait, I'm not training for a marathon. Someone take my ticket.
It's just more laid back in Europe and stuff. And while we're on the topic, I know he's jumping a lot ahead to a couple weeks ago. speaking of destination marathons, and one that's I think is on my bucket list, Iceland. I loved it when I was there, not for a marathon, but I absolutely, and it was 2 days to buy points, so I should be running over there. How was how was the Iceland marathon?
It was lovely. It was a very, very unique experience for a marathon because by far the smallest marathon I've ever done. I think maybe 1,100 people ran the marathon. But so for the first, like, it was very unique in that sense. Like, you start the half marathon and the marathon together. So you're running with a group of people, the usual stuff. You're used to it, the showmanship, the cameras, the fire trucks out, the dancing, the singing, the bands, everything playing. You hit about 19K and the half marathon drift off and you go your own way. And all of a sudden, there's no one around you. It's empty, it's quiet. The only people you bump into are the wardens or the wardens like showing you which way to go.
Oh
So it was
wow.
very, very unique. So for about 23 kilometers, it's you against your head, which I love personally. Like, I love that idea of like you're just there for yourself, you're fighting against yourself. I maybe had 4 or 5 people that I passed or bumped into along the way in the last 23K. Now you could see them
My
off in the
God.
distance, and if you looked around you, you could see a few behind you, but like you had your own space. When you compare it to Amsterdam, like you're crammed in Amsterdam, there's people everywhere, you're jumping, you're
Mm.
dodging. Whereas this, you just zone in, you go for it. Now, the wind, the cold, the hills, they were a little bit tough. Not overly hilly, but there was a lot of like little ups and downs that like you'd have to deal with. But overall, very, very enjoyable.
What time of the year is this, Mart?
It is end of August. So I think it was the 24th of August that I did on there.
Okay, so it is bright when you're doing it, and it's as summertime as you can get that far north, I
Yeah.
suppose. But
So it's like
um,
just the end of summertime.
and what was the, I suppose, the hardest part of it? Because it sounds great, sounds exciting, but is it being on your own? Is it the fact there's no all the marathons get
It's,
half marathons? It's like those half Ironman getting all the good stuff, and all the other ones just get
yeah.
abused even more. Like,
It was
is that what made it more special that you were like, well, look, I'm one of the few doing the marathon, and did you get to see more of Iceland that way? Did it send you out along better paths or?
it, the marathon itself is actually very much in the city. So you see a few parks,
Ah,
you're along the coast, you see the mountains in the distance, you see the sea, but there's not much, like you're not in nature. Now there is another marathon I know in Iceland called Volcano Marathon that'll send you up a volcano, so it's a trail marathon. There was a little bit of temptation, but I was like, do you know what? I haven't trained for trail running yet. I'm not jumping straight into a marathon. I'll do
You
give
didn't
that a bit of
try you
practice
didn't
before.
train for a marathon, so sure, look, keep it going.
Exactly. Yeah, just keep jumping into them. Best way to try something is just to book it and go for it.
and out of Reykjavik, I'm assuming it was Geneva and Amsterdam for going away from marathons. Would any of them be? Would you recommend one more than the other now, or?
I think just because Iceland is so beautiful, there's so much to
Mm,
see. I'd go Reykjavik, like purely for the aftermath of it. Like go out, explore the city. Like they do the marathon on their culture day, which is I can't remember exactly what the celebration is. I think it's like the anniversary of when Reykjavik was founded or something like that.
right.
So it's the third Saturday of every August. And it is the biggest party in Iceland. Like there's live music on the streets, there's street food, there's everything going. Now, if you're going over to Iceland, just be prepared. It's not cheap. It's
Yeah.
it's you're gonna come home with a hole in your pocket. So you have to accept that when you're going over. It's just whatever gets spent over there is left over there. We don't worry about it, we don't cry about it,
Yeah,
and we
because
come back.
even when we're talking about this scenes of different things, like if you go to Amsterdam, obviously there's different locations and stuff that are proper Amsterdam. Same with all the different cities like Dublin, Cathedral and all the rest. Whereas
Yeah.
in Iceland, all the stuff I found, like I was in the city for the first night, and I was like, right, let's get out of the city and do the Golden Circle and
Yeah.
all these other tourist spots. Whereas there's not as much in the actual city itself, but you throw in a festival and stuff like that with it. I'm like,
Yeah, there
save
you
a bit,
go.
but
It's a bit of
this could
something.
be on the bucket list.
Yeah, it is like if you do combine it well, we were only there for 4 days. I'd give myself a little bit more time after the marathon. So you go there, if you go there the day before the marathon, have your food prepped. Don't look at the prices in the supermarket. Just get the stuff, accept it's going to be awful, and spend maybe 5 days afterwards. Get your camper, get your car. Don't like you can't use public transport for Iceland. If you want to see the country, you need to get a camper or a car and just explore it. And if you can, do culture night. Next day, get a hotel 3 hours east or northeast. Go out that direction, get a hotel in a nice town out there, and just experience Iceland for what it is the best way I do it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's a beautiful country, absolutely beautiful country. You get obviously you're very active. You know, being a personal trainer, running coach. You do hiking. You have a lot of great links and stuff on your Instagram page. You'll have in the bio or in the podcast notes about all your different hikes and stuff like that. So you're definitely very active. I like to think I'm very active 364 days of the year. There's one day of the year that I and a lot of people listening will probably do absolutely nothing, and that's Christmas Day.
Sunday. Oh, sorry, Christmas. Yeah,
that's one a week for Eric.
Poor Eric can't do maths over there.
Those days that end in Y really struggle with them.
They're tough ones. I'll give you that much.
But Christmas Day just gone by, you know, I don't leave the house on Christmas Day. I'm happy with that decision. Bailey's coffees from the get-go. I'm as lazy as they come. But you went out and for a great cause did a 50K run. What inspired you to go running on Christmas Day?
To be honest, I couldn't even begin to start what inspired me.
Okay.
For me,
it was more so the fact that like
you better have a better reason than that.
Oh, sure. You should have seen the plate afterwards. It was piled high. There wasn't a scrap left. But I think it was little bit of insanity in that part though, because for some reason, I don't know where I got the idea, but something popped into my head. I was like, oh jeez, I'd love to do like 100K on Christmas Day. But then I'd realize like, okay, I'm nowhere near 100K level yet. Haven't trained for that, haven't practiced for that. And I was like, I'll try 50K. And then I was like, I can't just go out and do 50K on Christmas Day. People will think I'm insane. So I was like, right, I'm going to get a charity on board that I believe in that like does great work with the community. So I went looking for a charity to get on board with it. I found Grow Mental Health, and I'd never used them beforehand, but I went to them, I chatted to them. I found out that like a few people who come to the coffee run had actually used their services, talked about their experiences online, and I was like, it's a no-brainer. I'd have to like work with them. So I just set them up as the charity partner. We went ahead with it. I ran the coffee run 5K loop 10 times. So it was just nice repetitiveness, but that allowed me to say it to people. If you want to come out on Christmas Day, if Christmas Day isn't your time of year, a lot of people don't celebrate it as well as it like is intended to be celebrated. People have family issues, people have mental health issues, people can find Christmas a really, really tough time of year. So I was just like, anyone to come out, do a 5K, run around in a circle, blow off a bit of steam, give yourself something to do for the day if you have nothing else to do on the day, sort of thing, like sort of concept. And I think maybe like 50, 60 people came out to join for at least a 5K. Some people joined for 15, some for 25 was the most. So I always had someone with me chatting away, walking away, running away. So it was a really nice kind of experience to do.
60 people on Christmas, like that's an impressive numbers. And I suppose it just shows the points that you're talking to. Like, you don't know. Instagram is the worst thing that ever happened to Christmas, I suppose, because so many people are looking at other people's fun. Like, I've done it. I'm sitting there going, my family don't play Monopoly. We're sitting here watching telly. My dad's gone to bed. I was like, what sort of Christmas is this? Look at this family. They're all wearing matching pajamas. No, it's but it is, I suppose, what it is what it is for different families, and everyone has their own routines, and it's different for so many other people. And I suppose what I have found as you grow, you find communities, and many guests have said you find people who are in your own circle who like the same interests as you, and running tends to be one of those things. And I suppose getting out with you for that hour is probably an exciting part of that day for a lot of people, to be with the people they associate with and can relate to quite a lot.
Exactly. It gave a lot of people something to do, something to talk about. And like I found as well, a lot of people came out and spent the 5K. If I got talking to them for the 5K, they shared a lot of experiences, a lot of struggles, a lot of stuff that they wanted to get off their chest, but they didn't really have an outlet for it. It was a few people's first ever time running 5K on that day. Some people came out and like walked the loop while I was running it just to get out and get a bit of fresh air on the day. So it was like overall, I think it really brought a side to the community aspect that I hadn't addressed before. And I think it's something really important. I'm looking at doing something similar this year. I'll be doing nothing finalized, so I won't talk much about it now. But I'm looking at doing a bit more distance. Probably won't do it on Christmas Day, but I'll do 25K on Christmas Day with the same concept of bringing everyone out, running the 5K loop, getting people out, chatting, and enjoying themselves.
That I can't imagine how it would when you finished the 50K, just for those reasons and hearing people talking their stories and stuff like that, and the day itself it brings into, I can imagine it was a heavy ending to it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one as well because it was my first time doing a full event without an actual finish line or anything to do. So it was just like you just stop. You're just like all
Hmm.
of a sudden you just stop. And it's like a lot of things in life. You go through, you work towards something, and then you just stop. And it's just that's the finish line. But at the finish line, we're just chatting away, talking away. There was probably 15 or so people there at the finish line as well, chatting away. And it is a bit of an emotional one as well. Like the mother and the
Hmm.
sister came out to it as well. So I was just like, Jez, it's a bit like you feel you just it's an experience that I can't even put words to. It was a weird feeling of like, oh, I'm just done now. And that was emotional. Like, did I really just do that? Like, and it's just a lot of displaced emotion, I'll say. A lot of unusual feelings. But it was good. It was a lovely experience. Like, and I'll do it again.
I suppose it's one of those things, and it's kind of like those who go for the Christmas dip and stuff. It's an
Mm,
opportunity or a time of the year, like you said, it can be good or can be bad, but people are off, they tend to be home or thereabouts or have time in the most part. And I think that's what makes it more special when you do something like that on Christmas and your family are
mm.
there to be a part of it, I suppose, and others are at home and in the area they can come out and they get their part of it, and it adds something to that day, I suppose, being thankful
Yeah.
for everyone who supported you through the year. You all get to just take a minute and I don't know, people talk about just being in the moment, but when you've nothing else to do except eat your dinner and open a few prezzies, you can very much be
Yeah.
in the moment that day.
Yeah, exactly. It's very like it was a very mindful run where people went out and they actually thought about the year that has passed and what they want to do and what they had achieved, what they hadn't achieved. Like I found a lot of people did a lot of reflecting on it before, during, and after. So it was very nice to hear about that and like the conversations I had after and in the build up to it were always like very inspiring. Like you'd hear the stories of people overcoming drug addictions, like alcohol problems, mental health issues. Like you get to hear all that side of things and how they found an outlet in doesn't necessarily have to be running, but in communities, in support groups, in the gym, in running, in swimming. Like everyone has that little outlet that they switch to. And it was quite inspiring to hear everyone's stories on it.
You can tell through that, and even the way you approach marathons that you're very it means more, not just times of doing run stuff like that. I know you do have your running goals, and by the way, 3:21 in Iceland doing the hills and all that. Fair play, fast and both me and Eric. Anyway, not that's nothing to brag about because we're not the fastest guys in the world, but fair play and that. But like you have on your Instagram, creating communities through healthy habits. So you have your talk to us about the coffee run in Naas. You co-founded that, you set that up, and it's more of a social thing, is it?
Yeah, so that's a purely social run. Myself and one of the other lads here, he owns a gym in Ace as well. So this is even before that gym came into play. This is nearly a year and a half ago now, June 2023, the 10th of June 2023. We were chatting about this because I was doing a lot of social hikes. So with myself and one of the other girls, we were doing social hikes. We're bringing people together up the mountains every, month or so because it's a big time commitment for a social hike. 8 hours or so, your day gone. You go out, you do that, and that was fantastic. I was loving that. And then the lad and Nace, we would have ran a bit together already. We had done the Geneva Marathon together. He came to me and he was like, "Have you heard of mild activity?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've heard of mild activity." He had been to a couple of mild activities runs, which was like, this was like when run clubs weren't really a thing and they just started out. He was like, "They're onto something." And I was like, "You're probably right, they are on something. So then we were chatting, we was like, right, we'll set one up in Naas. We put a date on it, the 10th of June. And then the 9th of June came. We hadn't an Instagram, we hadn't a message sent out, we hadn't done fucking anything for it. So we were like, right. We went out to the canal beside the house. We were like, right, run, make a video, post it, make the Instagram. Let's message all the lads, see if we can get them out just to get a few promotional videos for the first day. As you can see, we kind of just like to jump into things, get them done, worry about the consequences later.
You
So
want to be
that's how that
careful. You could
happened.
end
We
up with a
actually,
podcast.
yes, it's something I've considered, but I think I'll leave that for another few years. I'm happy to just hop on as a guest.
So yeah,
But
you've got your videos on the canal.
I got the videos in the canal. We posted it. We set up the run for the next day, went out on it, and surprisingly, like there was one girl who showed up that like we didn't know beforehand. We were like, that's mad. Like people actually will show up to this. Then we just continued on, tipping away, and it grew and it grew and it grew. We put on group trips. We've done pacer runs. We've done full races together, and we're at a stage now where people are coming out, they're training for marathons, they're training for half marathons. And these are people we met a year ago who could barely do a 5K or who never did a 5K, didn't want to do 5Ks. Like, I even remember one of the lads would say when he did his first 5K with us, he was like, that's my first ever 5K. Like, I don't think I'm ever doing that ever again. Came the next week. Then it was on to like, oh, I'm never doing a 10K. Then he did a 10K. Then he was like, oh, I'm never doing more than a 10K. Did a 10 mile. Then he's like, I'm never going to do a half marathon. Does a half marathon. It's just that constant like growth within it and the impact it had. Like there are so many of the people in the community, a lot of the girls, they're all in this massive friend group now. They're booking half marathons together, they're booking holidays together, they're on nights out together. It's just created something where there was nothing because Naas was an interesting town. Everyone who did live here around our age group, so like the 20s to the 30s, they moved either to Dublin, to Canada, to Australia. They all moved out. So everyone in Naas in that age group, not everyone, but a lot of people, are people who have moved in for work as teachers, as vets, in the science industry, not so much in the business industry, but you get a few people like that. So it's all people who have moved into Naas. So it's this whole brand new community of people who didn't know anyone before coming together. And I think that's what makes it so special within the community.
So how does your coffee social run work?
It's very, very simple. We set up the Instagram. We organize a run every Sunday at 9 a.m. We start in a cafe that we partnered with. And this is like the base level. This is the first one we ever did. So every Sunday, 9 a.m. from a cafe called Hey Darling, we meet up there. There's a 5 kilometer loop that one of us explained it at the start, like where we go, what we do. We all run. Some people are comfortable with loops, so they run off at a faster pace. Some people run at a slower pace. Some people run middle pace. We always just have people together in those groups. And I'll try my best to like stop by each group and chat to them, see how they're doing. But like we just run that loop, come back to the cafe, we sit down, we chat. And that's pretty much the height of it. But you can have people sitting there chatting for 3-4 hours afterwards, which is like, it's great to see. So it's always just, it's more than just the running. It's being a part of something that wasn't there before.
Heard so much how good the coffee is there. And hey, darling, by the way, it's nothing to do
Oh,
anything. I know
it's
most people
phenomenal.
listening can't. All
Wait,
over the
hold
country
on,
going,
hold
oh,
on.
no use to me. But go
Sean,
ahead.
you haven't asked. Are you still partnered with them?
We are indeed, yeah. We
Oh yeah,
still
great coffee. Best coffee in Nice. Yeah,
just have to be
best,
sure
best
first.
coffee in Nice. Yeah, and for me, I don't even like coffee, but I drink it there. I would.
But the cafe is cool as well. Cool light and cool seating. Very nice place to be. Great atmosphere.
Well, one thing Eric can't relate to the coffee. The one thing he can relate to though is doing an Ironman. You had your own makeshift Ironman earlier in the summer.
Yes, I have to specify Ironman 70.3 though. Haven't done the full distances
Howard,
yet.
Howard, sorry, I think something gone with me.
Wow.
There's a bit of background
One,
noise
one,
over
one
here.
of these
Sean.
one of these days I'll make it to the full distances.
Yeah, I mean, if he's saying coward, that sounds like he was a badass doing the full distance. I was with him throughout most of his run. Anything but being a badass doing it.
Still did it though. It doesn't matter. I
Man,
have
full
the
distance
pajama
Ironman
top.
is something insane. I
I
don't know
have
how
the
I'm going to
shit
get to that
t-shirt they
level.
gave me. I still have it. I wear it to bed some
It's
nights
a
to remind myself.
pajama top.
Yeah, and I wear it to bed to remind myself of how average I was that day.
Man, the things we'll do for a t-shirt is mad.
Oh, I thought it would have been better though. I really thought it would have been better. So talk to us about your makeshift.
Yeah, at least
Cowardly
you got a
70.3.
t-shirt.
Huh?
At least you got a t-shirt. He just did it for the shits and giggles.
It's like, why not just do it here? Yeah,
So
so
how
that
did it
was
start?
it started again with we were looking at booking a half Ironman, so we booked one in Venice. So that was meant to be the 5th of May. We were training for it away. There was a group of us going over, only 2 of us doing the 70.3. But in the build up a couple of weeks before, my mom got sick. She's since recovered. She's much better now. But we were just, she got sick all of a sudden, and that was 2 weeks beforehand. And then her surgery got scheduled for like in around that weekend that I was going. And I was like, okay, no,
Oh,
I'm not going to go over. So I was like, I'm not going to go over, but I've trained to be there. I'm going to do a makeshift one in Ireland. So I picked a lake, Loch Owl out in Mullingar. It
Yeah,
was
it's a good one.
roughly, yeah, nice one swimming. Apart from there was a rat swimming beside me on the day, which was didn't make it easier.
Sean can't swim. It wasn't him.
I
Rat's
think
arms
you,
was as big as mine, huh?
But it
he's a
is a
pretty
good.
big rat.
It's a good distance there from the pier out, and it's 700. It's marked out pretty well. So there's a turning point at about 750 meters, I think, along the wall.
Yeah.
What route did you choose?
Oh, the swim, I was just going to swim out to the 700 and back. Saw the rat, and I was like, right, guess I'm just doing 100-meter lengths beside the pier. So it was a bit of a miserable one. Once I seen that, I was like, oh God, I can't do this. I'm on my own in the water. Like I'm not, just the idea of it was awful. So I was like 100-meter back and forth, just kept to that, didn't go anywhere near where I saw the rat the first time. I think I was about like 250 meters away from the pier at that point, and I was like, nope, done with that. So just went 100-meter back and forth, just had to keep checking the watch as I was going. And I was like, and just to be sure, I did like over 2000 on the watch just because I was like, I don't know if that's going to be 100% accurate. So I did about 2000 and a bit in around the time that I thought I was going to get for the 1900.
Did you have a
So
support crew with you at this stage?
I had a couple people watching the swim, making sure I didn't drown.
So were they
And
watching you going, hang on, how come he's just doing these little bits here instead of doing what he said before
I
he's going to do?
I shouted up to them, I saw a rat, just going to do this. So there were a couple of them there that were like, why didn't he just get out of the water? And I was like, you just have to get it done. I'm in the water now. I can't change lakes. I'm not switching anything up. So
so
I continued on with it.
From Lacole, I'm guessing you had a bike up in the car park and you were going to cycle from there.
Yeah, bike up in the car park. So sprinted up, got the wetsuit off on the passenger seat of the car, threw the stuff in the car, bike gear on. Didn't even have a tri-suit at this point either. So I just had like bicycle shorts, threw on a t-shirt, off I went on the bike. The initial plan was to hop on the greenway on the canal. I'd say I lasted maybe 5 kilometers on the greenway before I realized there was a gate every 2 kilometers that I had to stop and slowly weave through. And I was like, right, hop onto the roads. And then I'm sure you've all experienced it, the challenges of cycling on Irish roads where all the cars are slamming on their horns at you. They're shouting at you for not cycling in the hard shoulder that has a million potholes in it. So it was a makeshift route. And as I was cycling, I was just like looking at signs that were directing me towards the where I needed to go. Because I didn't have the like phone stand for my bike either. Didn't want to have AirPods in. So it was purely like following signs, hoping for the best. And I had people meeting me at certain points for nutrition stops. So I'd have to like try and call people while on the bike to like tell them I was changing route and all this sort of stuff. So the bike took, I think it took like nearly 3.5 hours, which was not what I was aiming for. But look, we live and we learn.
Yeah, such a pity. The Greenway, the first couple of kilometers is gates, and then after about 10K, you've got as far as you want all the way to Athlone.
So
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but you blew it. You blew your opportunity there.
that
You didn't
sounds
hate to break that to him at all. You were gloating saying that.
No, I just
I
had to
was wondering
because
why you were smirking in the top right hand corner of my screen
yeah,
there.
I was about to call you a few names, but if I don't, someone else will. You know, that's all
Oh,
I'm here. I'm just
someone
here
will
to
call it
fact
out.
check.
But yeah, I was looking if I was
People
going
in
the
Mullingar
opposite
would be
direction too.
disappointed.
Yeah, I was going the opposite direction to Athlone, though. I was going Mullingar towards Naas, so like along towards Maynooth.
Ah, okay, fair enough. And was the end goal to finish down towards Maynooth, or were you just
I
was
finished
that
off in Naas.
in Naas? Ah, very good. Okay,
Yeah.
well that makes sense. Sorry, I take it back. I take it back. I
That's
take
all
it
right.
back.
That's all right. You
That
jumped the gun
direction
on that one, but I'll leave you alone
is.
for it.
Yeah, look, I'm only here to slag people. That's my purpose in the podcast. So, did you make it to Naas in the end?
I made it to Naas, got to Naas at about 80k, so I had to lap about 10 kilometers just to get that last bit of distance in,
Oh,
which
Oh,
did you have to
it's,
cycle around the
it's
hills up towards the Blessington roads and all them?
I didn't venture out that far. I went out the Millennium Road, which is like the ring road around Naas,
Yeah,
looped
yeah.
that back in, threw the bike, parked up at the family house, threw the bike into the sitting room, and then just started running.
And
you
So
had the running plan at
21K.
least.
the running went down pretty well. I got a bit of a cramp from I'd say the second kilometer until the eighth kilometer, one that I wasn't expecting, one that I wasn't used to, and it was just running with like what running with a cramp feels like. It's not nice,
Hmm.
but eventually it loosened up. Wasn't feeling the best throughout the entire run, but made it to the end. Took a little nap on the grass and then went home. Like
No t-shirt.
that's
What's the point?
no t-shirt, no medal, no nothing. So just I got a nice latte though, if that counts.
If there's ever a race where it's all about the finish and just the spectacle they do and the big grandstand fin, it is an Ironman. It is the one thing where I seen at the start of Eric's one going, "Wouldn't mind doing one of those things," until the girlfriend, the fiance
Yeah.
reminded me, she's like, "You can't swim, pal. You have no fucking hope. Don't even think about it." I was like, I didn't even say a word. She just knew by me looking at it. She was like, "Don't even." So the
Yeah.
fact you did all that with no big finish or start, would you do it again?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't fall in love with triathlons, but I'd like to take off the "you are an Ironman" statement, like get that done. And again, that would be more of an ego pursuit as opposed to a passion pursuit. Like I'm more looking down the route of ultra marathons, like long-term goal. I'd love to get the Kerryway Ultra done at some stage. Like all those sort of things, they appeal to me so much. I'd love to take off the sub 3 hour marathon as well at some stage. It was initially meant to be Iceland, but I overtrained at the start of the summer, started feeling a niggle come on, and I was like, okay, my body's not at that level yet. So just tone the training down, let the injury subside, and then went back at it.
And one thing that's kind of sitting with me from the last part is your run club. What is the plans for the run club going forward? Obviously, we could keep talking about it. You've so many events. I'm really curious into the run club and what's next for that, and how is it going to grow, and how is it going to continue into the winter for people?
The winter, actually, we find you get more people out because everyone in the summer they're away. It's easy to do your runs in the summer. It's when winter hits, it's dark, it's wet, it's cold. The best way to motivate yourself is by getting out with a group of people who are doing the same thing. So you're all suffering together. Like suffering alone is tough in those situations, but if you're all out, miserable rain, suffer together, it's quite enjoyable. In terms of where it's going, for the minute, we were looking at doing a few more rural towns. So we started one up in Maynooth as well. And again, exact same concept. We partner with a cafe out there and we're working out of there. So that's where it is at the moment. We'd love to do trips, like group trips abroad, running trips, but it's not something we have looked into yet. We're both quite busy, but working pretty much full time. And it's just finding the time on top of your training, on top of organizing the runs, on top of, yourselves, lads. Like you're still doing this, I presume, on top of like your actual work as well. Like it's very, very hard to get everything in all at once. So down the line, we'd love to get a few trips abroad, like get the kind of concept of like La Santa Maria and all that sort of stuff, those clubs, like
Yeah.
anything like that would be
Ah,
lovely.
yeah, like traveling away for a training trip and stuff. You could have
Yeah.
just booked on to the Any Given Runday trip to Barcelona next year, but you missed that opportunity, didn't you? No, it's too late. It's too late.
Oh,
Well
no,
done to
sorry, you
everyone
didn't
that
reach
signed
out
up.
to me in time. You didn't
Eric's
reach out to me in
jokes.
time. That's on you guys.
Eric's jokes do not pay for the bills around here, so we do other things as well on top of that. You touched on there, you got in the transfer portal for the double marathon. With your run club, I'm assuming you have some people doing the marathon as well. What kind of tips and suggestions have you been telling them in their training leading up, or what practical advice you have coming these last 5-6 weeks towards double?
I'd say a lot of my tips are based around don't get injured in the last 6 weeks. Don't overdo it. If you're feeling something coming along, you don't have to listen to that run a plan that you've paid €20 a month for that's telling you to go out and do 12K worth of intervals. Slow it down. If you're really starting to feel the mileage, let that body recover. Because if you get to that start line, if you have the right mentality, you will push yourself through it. But that's more of a tip for like if it's your first time marathon. And like that's who we work with mostly in the coffee run, people who are looking to get their first marathon done, their first half marathon done. And the most important part is reaching that start line uninjured. Because once you get there, you've a good bit of mileage in the legs, you will do it. Like you will get into the headspace and you will push yourself to the end.
What do you say to people for, because you talked about it there earlier, and I've gone through and had this conversation. The most common conversation of how people getting from a 10K to a half in the full is just the mental battle of being out there. Like we've all done 10Ks a little bit longer and felt like, my God, when will the time end? And I'm sure like yourself now, you can go out and you just run for an hour and not even think about it. And as a lot of people in your run clubs are doing 5 and 10 and like try and build up, and it's like just the time, the mental space. What do you say to that to help people break that mental barrier to go further?
I talk a lot about learning to love the pain and the nerves. Like you've to convince your brain that the pain you're feeling, the pain in the legs, the pain in the mind, everything you're feeling that you have naturally associated with negative is actually a positive. So if you can flip the script on how your brain thinks, rewire yourself to think this pain is growth and like genuinely learn to love it and know deep down within you that this pain will lead to more happiness at the end of the race. If you can understand that, like, and genuinely understand and not just tell yourself it, you'll be able to get through the extra distance. And what was the other aspect you were asking about there? It was time and something else.
Just the amount. This is just it's just that mental kind of like, yeah. It's pretty much the same thing where you get to the hour or so and it just feels like it takes forever. Like around with a few people and getting through now, like it just like I'd be just chatting away and not even thinking, and they're dying inside, and it's just I know by seeing the pace and their legs moving that they could keep going, but it's just the
Yeah.
mental thing of just keep going and looking to watch every 2 minutes going, oh my God, how has only 2 minutes gone past? It's like I remember when I used to the Phoenix Park and just like this same song is on. It's not even 4 minutes. Like, how long is this song? And just the my favorite albums just felt twice as long and it ruined them all on me as
Yeah.
time. But like it's just trying to get there's a point I don't even know when exactly it happened for me, but there's a point you get to it breaks through and you can run for an hour without thinking about it.
Yeah. It's when it becomes habit, you can just do that. You can get out, you can run, and that's that. And like you're doing it. It's something you do. It's like brushing your teeth. It just becomes that habitual where you're like, you're out, you're doing it, is what it is. Like you don't even think twice about it. But when you're trying to break into new distances, it is just that pure wall that you're going to hit. Your mind's going to play tricks on you. It's going to tell you can't do it. Your body's going to feel like you can't do it when you really can. Like you have much more in you than your mind and your body allows you to believe. It's just about teaching people that. And I will say to them, it'll never come unless you do it, you surpass it. Like easier said than done. And I'm a firm believer, you just have to do it. You have to want to do it as well. If people come to me and they talk about like, oh, I think I'm going to do a marathon, and I ask them why they want to do it, they're like, oh, everyone just seems to be doing it. I'm like, don't do a marathon. Like, you don't want to do it. If you genuinely want to complete a marathon for personal goals, personal satisfaction, ego, you want to get fitter, you want to like push yourself to that distance. If you have intrinsic reasons for taking on that marathon, you'll do it and you'll complete it. If your reasons are purely, I want people to know I did a marathon, you're going out there and you have no understanding of how difficult it is. You're seeing everyone on social media running marathons because that's the content that's being pushed with the algorithm at the minute. Well, at least for me, it is. But
Mhm.
you're not going to want to do it. You're going to get there. You're going to get to your training weeks. You're going to get to a 30K run and be like, oh my God, this is so hard. Why did I do this? And you're not going to want to do it. You're going to feel miserable. You're going to hurt yourself. It's not for you. You need to tone back the distance. You need to take those 5K races, those 10K races, those half marathon races, build your way up. Don't just go from like running your social runs to I booked a marathon. They're two very, very different types of running, and we don't all have to jump straight into a marathon. I know I did it. Wasn't it wasn't on purpose. That was just something that happened.
Oh, we did it as well. You hit the nail on the head there with the social media stuff because, the Dublin half marathon's coming up, and myself and Eric have a little argument over how good or not good that medal is for, but that's a different conversation.
Is this
But
the one with all the animals on it?
with a deer on it.
Oh, that's all right. No, that's.
I think
I'll
it's a
allow
beautiful
it.
medal.
I'll allow it. It's different. It's different. I'll allow it. I'll allow it. The jury has
But
spoken. It's okay.
The Naas 10K medal was quite cool. There's little, that Naas ball, the iconic one that's on the M7 there.
Yeah,
Like that had it incorporated where you could like spin it across your chest. So it was like
I'm
free
doing it this
moving
year.
in the medal.
I'm
Yeah,
doing
you're
it this
doing it.
year just to show Eric when it's done that the ball spins. I'm just gonna send him a video. No time, no, don't care. Just the ball spinning and like show me your Cork Marathon wood medal compared to this. I
was gonna
The
make
nicest medal I've got by far.
a very inappropriate joke in a video. I'm gonna send you back with something else spinning, but we better not. We better not.
Moving swiftly
Don't
back
get
to
your
half
podcast
marathon.
cancelled.
I
Put
think
that out, Sean. Put that out.
I think I'll leave it in. No, wait, no, hang on. What are we talking about? No, I will get back to the half marathon. When people are finished with that deer medal and they take the pictures and stuff, what doesn't show on the social media posts for a lot of people, especially the first one, is the pain they'll feel afterwards. Like I remember doing my second half marathon in Dublin in 2018 and being in that pain afterwards and being like, how am I going to run a full one in 6-7 weeks time, wherever it is? And to your point, you have to have those intrinsic reasons because you're going to feel sore for the next week or two. And it's like, oh, I feel a bit of niggle. I mightn't run at all for the next 3-4 weeks. To when do I feel okay to run because I need to battle through this and trying to find that balance is difficult.
It's a tough balance to find. And going back to your point that you made there about people not sharing the pain of it on social media, that is actually something I haven't thought about, surprisingly, but it's so, so important because everyone on social media, it's smiles, it's cheers, it's happy cries. It's I just completed a marathon. There's like jumping pictures, there's selfies. But I've ran marathons now, not for an extensive amount of years. I think I ran my first maybe a year and a half ago. But every marathon I finish, I'm on the ground at the end. I will lie down. I will proper like convince myself like I am on the verge of passing out here. How did I get to this mark? And now I'm gone. Like my mind has told me I'm getting to 42.2. And when I get there, I'm gone. Like that's it. I lie down. I'm like on the verge. I'm like barely putting whatever snacks they give me at the end into my mouth, trying to revive myself. The first marathon I did, I think I got to the end and all of a sudden I was like, shit, I feel like I can't breathe. Like emotional, yes, happy, yes, but the physical pain that comes afterwards is it can't be understated. Like I was in bits, like after my first, like limping, couldn't get upstairs, didn't get out of bed for like I'd say 4 hours afterwards once I got back to the hotel room. And when I did get out of bed, it was to go down the street and get a bit of dinner and come home. And you hear these people like, oh, we'll do the marathon, we'll go for pints, we'll do this. And I'm like, do that the next day. Don't do it on the night up. You're dehydrated. You're going to wake up the next morning.
Killian, stop shitting on our pints after marathons.
I'd be in bits if I tried that.
No,
I wouldn't be
get on the
able
bus back to Naas. You get on the bus. You're not coming with us.
That's why if you go out, you're not coming back
Shandy.
out. We don't go home because we go home, we're not making our way back out
We're
again
not.
that night. As we stay out.
That actually might be
suffer.
my mistake. I always go home first, and then I'm like, I can't get out of this.
But for those
bring
doing the
it down.
first one, it's no matter what that distance is, that 42, you feel it like, oh, I did a 50, I got the 42. Go, I don't feel as bad as because mentally I was gearing myself in the 50, and I'm sure it's those doing the Kerry Ultra. But like you've already done Reykjavik this year. I'm sure you're going to do class towards Dublin and build it up, and everything you're doing with the coffee run, everything it's class what you're doing. A lot of respect for you for doing that. And best of luck, whatever you plan to do for Christmas Day or around Christmas Day. You kind of half into that, but you didn't go all in on what you may have posted on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, which you said you were going to do.
There's a little whisper. I'll give you sure it's the end of the podcast. If people listen to this long,
Cliffhanger.
they deserve to know it.
Yeah.
It's looking like I'm gonna try 100K on New Year's Day, and then I'm
Oh
gonna do the
wow.
25 on Christmas Day just to get people out and moving. But my head, I'm like, if something goes wrong on Christmas Day, I don't want to be walking around in circles for 26 hours. Like New Year's Day, I don't mind. I can do the walk around for 26 hours if I need to. Ideally, nothing goes wrong, but just on the off chance that something does, I think my mother would kill me if I didn't make it back for Christmas dinner.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
well, that is fair. And New Year's Day, like, yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. The very best of luck, and we will keep in touch and we will share out all the details that you're doing. And I've no doubt you might be associating with a charity again for this one.
I will. I'll be linking in with the same charity. I need to get onto them actually. I said it to them that I would do it. And I'd say in the next month or so I'll have the details finalized, everything released and ready to go.
And
Unbelievable.
by all means, we will keep sharing out all the good work you're doing, and for everyone to get involved in your run club. It's phenomenal what you're doing in the communities. Yeah, you're a good inspiration because you're just a regular guy like ourselves who's taking on silly challenges, and other people are getting involved in it. And it's great to see what you're doing. The very best of luck with it in the future. We appreciate you coming on to this week's episode of the podcast, and we wish you all the best over the Christmas.
Appreciate it, lads. Thanks so much.
And that's it for myself, Killian, and Eric. Take care.